Interview with Jian Swang Lim. He is one of our popular investors who has had some really good returns in his trading accounts. He's been trading since about 2004. So introduce yourself and tell our listeners a little bit about you.
Hey, hi. Thanks for having me here, Henry. I first started investing during the 2014 oil crisis. So many of the analysts during that time were saying that the cheap oil is going to help with the airlines to make better profit. So what they were saying sounded really logical to myself. Hence, to try to gain some money, I bought into one of the most popular low-cost airline in the Southeast Asia region, AirAsia. However, things were going in the opposite direction of what the analysts were saying. So from that incident, I have realized that it's important for myself to have my own analysis as well, instead of just relying on their opinions or the analysis available online. So that's how I got into investing.
So you said there a little bit about oil. Now, at the present moment, oil is pretty low, and there's not a whole lot of demand about it. You also mentioned airlines as well. So do you see much of a correlation between you starting trading in 2014 to actually now what's happening in the market?
Could you be more specific about the question?
As you see that you were talking about that airlines are quite cheap, whereas at the minute airlines are also massively cheap. Are you seeing similarities the way the market had dropped in 2014 to the way the market has dropped at the present moment?
At the present moment, I think the main reason that the airlines are going really bad right now, it's more towards the pandemic, COVID-19, rather than the main reason coming from the oil crisis. So I guess, in my opinion, the main thing that the airlines are going really cheap now. Cheap, it's not exactly the word, because it depends on each of our opinions. So the main reason is that people are seeing that the pandemic is causing the traveling and the frequency using airlines. The frequency would not recover so quickly. So hence we see the drop in the airlines rather than just the oil crisis itself.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, why did you become a popular investor?
I am delighted to know that people are actually looking up to me as a role model to help them in gaining financial and also investing knowledge. Being a popular investor, it's definitely a validation for myself and my strategy as well. Yeah.
And how did you get into investing in the first place? I know you're now a popular investor and doing extremely well, but what brought you to in trading? How did you get into trading in the first place? I know you talked about 2014.
You mean that how did I get into trading, investing?
Yes.
During the 2014, that was when I got in touch with the stock market, because it was quite a big news that the oil crisis is causing the oil to be really cheap. So as we can see from the news that many of the analyses are regarding the airlines and all. So why did I get into trading or investing? It's definitely that I saw that as an opportunity for myself to gain extra money from investment.
Yeah.
And yeah. So yeah.
Okay,
So
so
that's the main.
so that's how you got into trading. So now, when your trading strategy, has your trading strategy changed over the recent market? Because as we know, at the present time, the market is pretty volatile. There's a lot of stuff going on. And has your strategy changed over the pandemic with the likes of coronavirus?
I would like to look at investing from the long-term basis. By long-term basis, I do not mean that we should buy into a company and then we just leave it there for years or even decades. Why is that? In this fast-changing era, even behemoths could easily be overtaken by other more innovative companies. So it is crucial for everyone to continuously learn about the ongoing changes in our ways of living, rather than just doing research, which may be reading the news, reading some analysis available online. I think it's also important to be observant about what is happening or what is changing in everyone's life. As an example, the kids nowadays, they are very good in using the TikTok, which is
Yes.
something I'm still struggling with. Hence, we could see like many news coming out from US regarding this TikTok issue.
Yeah, so you have almost 3,000 copiers. Now, one of the big things that we have to do with copiers is build trust. Now, how do you build trust, or how do you let new traders know that you are someone who's worth following or worth copying?
So one of the things that I have noticed is that usually the copiers, they start to lose trust after some volatility. So I would like to take this opportunity, this chance, to point out to everyone that volatility is very normal and common in the stock market. The valuation in the long term will definitely reflect the underlying business or the prospect of the companies. So it's important to have rationals to back up on your investments rather than treating them as gambles. For myself, I would say that I look at every investment based on some foundations or things to back up their valuations.
So one of the things that you've said there is that you evolve. Okay, that you, as the market changes, things continue to change. So, has your strategy changed in that time, and to say now in the last 6 months?
I would say that the main foundation is still that I look at investing from the long-term perspective, rather than treating them as something that I gain today, I lose today. I mean, I lose tomorrow. I am more concerned about the company's prospects, or how well their businesses are going to do going forward in maybe years or even months. Yeah, so that's part of the most important thing that I look at.
Okay, so you said to me that you're sort of a long-term trader. You hold on to stocks that are long-term. So at the present moment, over the last 3 or 4 days, we've had a big, huge sell-off on, say, the NASDAQ, the S&P. They've all pulled back, which means that is affecting most stocks. Now, I know personally, my phone, I keep getting text messages off everyone, Henry, what's happening to the market? Henry, what's happening? Now, is this something that you expect, or need to happen in the market for you to jump back into new trades? Or is this a crash? How do you explain what's going on at the minute?
I guess the thing about the stock market is that people tend to overreact or over expect when things are booming, and they start to get really upset, or they start to under expect when things are very gloomy. So I would say that volatility is definitely a part of the stock market. So when you say, is it expected? I would say it's definitely expected in some ways. It is just that no one would know when the next volatility is coming or how big the next one is coming. So so I guess, sorry.
So you're a long-term trader. So how long do you hold on to your stocks for? And then I suppose, how do we know when to get out? If you're a long-term trader, is it a year? Is it 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? How do you know how to get out then?
Yeah, that's a very tough question, I would say. I do not have an exact answer for this question, because usually I hold the stocks that I deem to still have upsides, until I think that's another option or another company that I think to have a better potential. And so I would say it really depends from time to time, and it really depends on many factors as well. To answer this question, I would say no one can be 100% certain that every single one of their investments to be successful. Hence, diversification is definitely one of the ways to navigate through the potential investment mistakes and all.
So you've said something there that has actually piqued my interest. You've said that you could hold on to a trade, and then you never know which is the best time to get out of it. But what you would do is you would look around and see if there's another trade that has better potential. But would you then close half the position that you have on your original trade and then put the half that's closed into the new trade? Or would you close the full trade and then put the whole amount of money on the next particular trade?
Depends from each company or from time to time as well, I would say. So there's no a definite strategy or even a way that I'm going to do. So I would really look at many of the factors, including how is the trend in the option, the potential stock that I'm looking at, how is the trend going, and yeah, many more factors, I would say. So.
So
would I close all one time? Yeah, it really depends from time to time as well.
Okay, so you're a fundamental trader, and I'm sort of a technical trader. Now, something that all our listeners all want to know is where do you get your fundamental news? Is it literally Google, or where do you get your fundamental news from?
For this question, I would say the research is everywhere. Even like what's happening in your friends. What are the changes in your friends' living lifestyle? Maybe they used to subscribe to some before Netflix, people were using the TV, and after Netflix, many people are using Netflix as their option to watch movies. So I guess Google is definitely one way to look at the analysis. And yeah, definitely looking at people around you to know about the lifestyle changes.
Okay. So how long do you expect, or how long wouldn't be a thing? So what do you expect, or the outlook for the next half a year to year on the stock market? Are you expecting it to continue growing as it's been growing, or do you expect a massive sell-off, a correction, or to kind of phrase that the likes of Bloomberg and all them like to say a market crash? Are you expecting that to happen?
Oh, always, I would say that always in our market, there are definitely two groups of people, one being on the bull side and definitely the other one on the bear side. So I am aware that many of them are actually saying that the tech sector it's overvalued. Where do I stand? I would say that I have noticed that many of the industry are going weak due to this pandemic, but the tech sector is definitely still the sector that I like the most, as the world is adopting the tech faster than ever. So even there is a crash going forward, I do not see the end of the road for the tech sector. So I'm not too worried about the long-term prospect of the tech sector. So when we say about tech, it's a very wide term, I would say, because in our current world, you have to adopt, you have to technify your companies as a part of your strategy. Otherwise, you would be eliminated in our world. For example, like when we talk about Etoro, it's a financial services company, yet Etoro is adopting tech as a part of the strategy. So tech itself is a very wide term, but tech is definitely the thing you have to look at for the companies.
Yeah, no, tech is definitely where it's been at for the last, for I'd say 2020, it's been huge. Now, like you say, we don't see any difference in the outcome over the next 1 quarter, even 2 quarters in the likes of the tech sector. So why then has the market dropped over the last 3 or 4 days? Well, why has it dropped so rapidly over the last 3 or 4 days then, if we still expect the tech sector to continue driving the market?
I guess that's a question that everyone would try to rationalize. So before the crash, everyone would think that it's still going well. Until the crash, then people start to rationalize what's happening with the market. Is it overvalued? Is the valuation too high? How is the prospect going forward? So when you are asking what happened to the stock market due to this recent crash, for myself, I think that it's as mentioned earlier, volatility is definitely a part of the stock market. So it's so as mentioned, it's definitely expected. We wouldn't know when the next one is coming or how big the next one is coming. So as we see across the whole year, we can see that tech is still higher than before March, which is a valid thing because pre-pandemic, the tech is still, many of the companies are still not adopting technologies. But after this, during this pandemic, many of the companies realize that they have to adopt tech as a part of their business to continue forward. So
yeah, no,
when you look at
I
over
agree.
the period, when you look
We
at
have
over the period,
everyone in the city. They're coming in, adopting the likes of Zoom, DocuSign, Adobe, stuff like that. Everyone is now is using some sort of tech to actually get in and yeah, absolutely in their daily life, and that's one of the things that's really, really cool about what's going on. Yes, the market's going up, but it also means that everyone is using it. I see my nan. She's using Zoom at the minute.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that's it. So, and now, not advice, but have you got any messages out there for people who now want to start copying you?
I guess the thing that I would like to emphasize again is that it's really important to have a mindset to look at investing from the long-term perspective. Uh, and to get there, definitely the short-term fluctuations or the volatilities will definitely come again. Um, so it's important to have that mindset to look at investing as a long-term thing. You can't expect you jump in into the stock market today and you expect quick profit from it tomorrow, rather than looking it as over a period of time, like years or even decades. And yeah,
So,
finally, I think I've written some posts about this mindset. So for the potential copiers, it's definitely advisable to take the chance to read through everything in my profile.
okay, so a question here for the audience. What do you think was the biggest surprise stock of the year?
The biggest surprise stock of the year, I would say it's Tesla. Uh, Before the March crash, people were expecting the factories to close and they wouldn't have the productions to be so well. And hence we saw that the crash of Tesla from 1,000 to around 400. And during the June report, people start to see that the demand is still there and the production is not going down. So we could see that after the report, things look really favorable for Tesla until like the past few days.
Yeah, no, but the thing about it is, I love getting it. I love having a pullback. It means that we can go shopping. We can actually now buy into these stocks again at a much discounted rate. So, look, me personally, I love the likes of those. Now, another question from the audience is, would you think that oil or aviation is a good sector to actually go in and invest in at the minute, because they are pretty low at the minute? Is this a good time to
Again, sorry,
invest?
which stocks are you talking about again? Sorry.
Airlines or oil stocks?
Airlines or oil stocks?
Yes.
I, in my opinion, I think the airline industry is really fragile, because there's so many competitions in the airlines. The main thing that the consumers are looking at is just the price, the price that they can afford. So I would say the airline, well, I would definitely say that the airline industry is not going to be there. It's definitely going to be still there, but it's a very competition intense industry. So would I look at it? Well, my favorite is still the tech sector, unless I can see that there's some very, very impressive strategy from the management to adopt any kind of tech in their strategy to attract the consumers. Well, for now, I'm still more focused in much of the tech stocks like Facebook, Apple, Google, the FANGs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we have now started to see a new phase of stimulus, a new phase of checks being sent out in the US to everyone. So do you think that the new stimulus checks that are being sent out in the US, do you think that will start a new rally in the tech sector?
I well, if it's, I think it's something that is short term. In the end, a stock market always move very quick, and it's more towards the expectation rather than what has already happened. So what's coming from the stimulus, I I'm quite confident that it's already reflected into the stock market. So it's still more towards a prospect rather than what has already happened.
Now, there is a massive inverse correlation between US jobs and the stock market. Now, do you think that's going to have an effect on the stock market moving forward? Or do you think that the stock market is going to continue trending? Because if people haven't got jobs, they can't afford to buy stocks, can they?
It's a very tough question, I would say. It's yeah, you can say that when people aren't having enough money, they can't buy into stocks. But in the end, if the companies are doing well, whether it's coming from the other part of the world or in US itself, the valuation will still reflect to the underlying business and prospect in the end. So rather than as I was saying, it's really hard to predict what's going to happen in days' time or even months' time, because we should be more focused about a longer period in the stock market, like years, because it would reflect the true valuation in the end.
So how do you manage a risk portfolio if your portfolio is not very diverse and and you're afraid of the China-US conflict escalating into a bigger problem? So how would you manage your risk on that side?
So if my portfolio is not, so your question is how do I manage to the risk as my portfolio?
Well, it's sort of, if we continue to get the escalation of the US trade war. Now, you said that a lot of tech. So imagine you're invested heavily in US tech. Now, would you diversify that? Because we could have a lot of US stocks banning in China. We could have a lot of China banning the US stocks, which means then that's a huge drop off in people using their products. So how would you manage that portfolio or the risk on that side if that escalates higher?
Well, yeah, I would say that, yeah, definitely diversification is one of the ways to navigate through these volatile or unpredictable events. Diversification, like investing in both US markets and also the China market. And definitely, even when we talk about tech sector, as I was saying, it's tech word. It's a very wide term because it's inclusive of, yeah, Etoro, the financial services, the insurtech like Lemonade, that's a new IPO recently. What else? Like, yeah, Tesla, the automotive. You can have the AI in the cars, and definitely social medias and things like that. So, is it diversified enough? I would say it is in certain ways, because tech is something that it's going to remain in going forward. So yeah, tech is something that I look at.
Well, that about wraps it up for today. Is there anything you want to say to our listeners? Where can they find you? Is there any extra stuff that you do where people can actually read your stuff and get in contact with you?
Yeah, you could definitely read through the posts I've written previously on my profile, and definitely Etoro is the platform you can look me on. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of you, Henry, and especially Daya, as she has been really helpful to myself. Yeah, I guess, yeah, that's all I want to say.
And if anyone wants to come in on any of the trading schools we run, or the webinars or anything like that about the educational, there's a link on your dashboard there. Just click on that, eToro Trading School, and you can join me in any of our upcoming trading events. So thank you very much, everyone, and I hope you have a